Are you addicted to your phone? It's becoming a bit of a problem.
Put the phone down. hmm Everybody, including you, is addicted to their phone. You, me, everyone. And you don't realize how much it is not only draining you of your time, but is draining you of your life force and making you unhealthy because it makes you depressed and anxious and stressed out. It wastes your time, which makes you depressed and anxious and stressed out. It shoves all these examples and comparison in your face, which makes you stressed out, anxious, and depressed. And when you're looking at your phone that much, guess what you're doing? You're sitting on your rear end. And so you're sedentary. But when you also add in the way that your addiction to technology is making you miss your life and it's making you not be present for the people that you love, you got to have boundaries with it.
Well, there you go. We're all addicted, and it's true. Cell phones have been in what, 20 years, if that? And now most people can't leave the house without them. And obviously, big time waster, right? But as she said, with that time wasting, you're trading your life, like actual experiences with real other human beings, right? And nature and real things for a screen. And that screen has algorithms, right? It creates echo chambers and it pushes you into the box that it wants to push you in. And then it, starts to influence our choices on different things. We get all these opinions, obviously mainly one-sided. And so it's a brainwashing device, right? And the whole dopamine effect. Dopamine is there for us for real, real events when we get excited, when we're having fun. But now the dopamine that we rely on, those dopamine hits to make us feel good, are coming from a phone. And the last thing she said was, especially for kids, I guess, all these comparisons of what you need to be. So basically, it's giving everyone, but especially children, the message that you're not good enough unless you look like this, have these clothes, have this brand of watch, do this, make this much money, whatever it might be. It's basically a self-esteem killer.
7 signs you're addicted to your phone. Number 1, you're on your phone whenever you eat. You have created a strong association between eating and being on your phone. This causes you to miss out on fully enjoying your meals. Number 2, if you go to the bathroom without your phone, you start experiencing withdrawal symptoms, meaning you start to feel really uncomfortable and bored without your device. This highlights your dependency on constantly having to be digitally stimulated. Number 3, you use your phone first thing in the morning. You start out your day by checking all of your social media notifications and text messages. You get information overload the moment you wake up. Number 4, the last thing you do before you fall asleep is to put your phone away. This means you're with your phone until the moment your head hits the pillow. Number 5, you text and drive. You don't pay attention to the road because whatever's on your phone is more important at that time. Obviously, doing this is risky to yourself and others. Number 6, whenever you cannot find your phone, you go into complete panic mode. This reveals a heightened sense of attachment and reliance to your device for daily functioning. And number 7, whenever you have a really important task, you procrastinate by being on your phone.
Well, are you addicted? Do you procrastinate by using your phone? And again, that's, the phone, the black mirror, the digital world taking away from your actual life. Instead of having actual experiences and doing actual things, you just scroll. And how often do you use your phone? Is it with you all the time? Are you on it first thing in the morning until last thing at night? I mean, me myself, my phone is basically for phone calls. Really, I do banking on there, and that's really it. I don't really use my phone much. Of course, I'm on the computer a lot more. That's kind of the conundrum, right? Is I work online, and many of us do, but I guess it's the phone is different as far as it's mainly used for social media and it's this dopamine hit. How many likes have I got on my last post? Have people replied to my messages? Basically, how valid am I in this new digital world? That's what we're looking for validation for, most people, right? And again, especially children. We're dealing now with the first generation to grow up with these as far as they've been around their whole lives since they've been born. They don't know a time without phones, all computers, all the internet, any of that stuff. Where, us who are of a wiser age, should I say, we grew up without any of this stuff. We grew up in the real world, outside in nature, running around doing actual things. And, with the phone taking up all this time, a lot of people are talking about the quickening and there's not enough time anymore and time speeding up. And, I definitely feel that too. But, I think we have to question, is that because we're trading real time, real experiences for electronic ones, simulated reality? Because that's what it is. And the phone isn't real. The internet's not real. Most of the stuff on there is slanted. It's there, it's propaganda. It's there to make you think a certain way, to make you buy a certain thing, to make you dress and feel a certain way. It's all about manipulating us. And, that is not good.
I just want to show you something. This is the psychological power of the device. What if I was sitting here talking to you holding my phone? It's not buzzing, it's not beeping, no one's calling me, I'm just holding it. Do you feel like you are the most important thing to me right now? No, you don't. That's the association. So when we show up for a meeting, or we sit down for dinner with our families, and we put the phone on the table, it sends a psychological message to everyone sitting there that you are not the most important thing to me right now. And putting the phone upside down is not more polite. Put it in airplane mode to take away the temptation that something's coming in, and put it in a bag or on a shelf out of sight. And this is how we should be interacting with people, giving them our full attention, because the idea is not that we hear the words they say, but that they feel heard. And this is one of the tricks. If you wake up in the morning and you check your phone before you say good morning to the person sitting next to you, you probably have a problem. If you have to take your phone from room to room, no matter where you go, you probably have a problem. And just like any recreational drug, the more you practice leaving it away. For example, if you go out for dinner, you don't need 4 telephones. Leave one at home, leave one in the car. You have one with your spouse, it's fine. If you have a client meeting, leave it in the car, leave it in the bag, never take it out. And you find it easier not to be sucked in by the fear-mongering as well. So like any addiction, it just takes a little work.
And isn't that so true? How many times have you been in the situation where you're talking to someone and they start checking their phone? We see it a lot, right? I mean, there's literal videos being made, of people out for dinner and they're filming their meal and making a little video about it and these are like dates, rather than spending time with the person they're out with. It's extremely rude, but it's what it is the phone person is exchanging, again, real life, real experiences for these dopamine hits, which is an addiction. That's an addiction. So are you addicted? And if so, how much? I mean, again, I'm in the older range of people at the moment. I grew up in the 80s and we didn't have any of this stuff. So I think a lot of people around my age, we kind of see what's going on, but also, phones, I didn't have my first phone until I was in my 20s and it wasn't a smartphone. So, we grew into these, right? We saw them sort of evolve, but the children, they've entered the world and smartphones have been a thing, right? This thing that you can carry around wherever you want, and you've got this constant flow of information, and where you can contact your friends, and that's what it seems like. It seems like it's good, right? Because all this information, and you can contact your friends wherever you want, and you can FaceTime and all this stuff, but it's an addiction because it's all about dopamine. Like instead of talking to your friends on the phone, you should do what we did in the 80s, right? Get on your bike and ride to their house, have an actual conversation, do actual things. And so it's becoming a big problem. And children are relying on these phones for their access to the world. And as I said before, all the information is slanted on the internet. These algorithms will pick up what you're looking for and it will give you what it wants to give you on that topic. It's not freedom of information. We all know that, I mean, look at all the censorship that's gone on in the last 5 years, right? So, it's creating echo chambers, right? So if you're a child and you're looking for, whatever it might be, right? If you're a girl and you're looking for makeup, it's going to put you in an echo chamber and start funneling information of the makeup it wants you to buy, right? And it's going to make it look amazing, and it's going to give all these people telling you how amazing it is, so that you buy it. And we know what the world's like. It's probably going to end up being the worst makeup for you, right? But like I said, a lot of adults, and a lot of adults are very addicted, but a lot of us, have seen what's going on, or we're just not so much into the phones, right? Because we grew up in a different world. But the children who have grown up with phones, a lot of them are really struggling. I mean, this is more than addiction, really.
Get your children off their phone before their brains forget how to feel joy. Because here's the scary truth. Dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical, is released every time your child scrolls, every time they get a like, or they watch a short video. And overstimulation leads to dopamine desensitization, which means their brain needs more and more to feel less and less. There was a 2022 study from the University of Vermont that found that heavy screen users had significantly reduced dopamine receptor activity, especially in the reward processing areas. The translation of that is that your child's phone is literally rewiring their brain to feel numb to everyday life. So don't let this thing steal your kid's childhood. It's not only killing their time, but it's also killing their joy.
Well, there you go. This is worse than addiction, right? And, the thing is, it's this instant gratification, right? They get a dopamine hit off, like you said, watching a short video or getting a like on their post. When I was a child, we'd have to work for our dopamine hits, right? Like if you built a billy cart, say, right, then you would get the joy. You'd have to put in all the work, but then you'd get the joy of playing in it and riding it. And that would go on and on and on every time you used it. So it sort of elongated this joy, right? This dopamine. But today they get these dopamine hits and there's nothing there. It's instant and then it's gone. And they don't have anything to show for it. And so what it's doing is it's creating mental health issues. And how much have we heard of mental health issues recently in all of the population, right? It's rising, but especially in children, especially in children, all this depression and stuff. And it's because they're not getting proper rewards and they're not putting in proper work. You can't really feel satisfied of doing something if it's online. It's much different to building something, right, with your own hands, or to create something, or just having a good conversation, having whatever it is, right, a nice day at the beach. And the thing is, with the outside world, nature, right, the natural world, like I said before, these dopamine hits, right, our feelings of joy, they're a lot longer. They're extended. It can be the whole day at the beach, and it normally was, right. It was a whole day, or it could be a holiday, a whole week. It could be years, right? Living in the house you built, or riding on your billy cart, or whatever it is. Now it's down to seconds. And so these children, and adults as well, but children, they don't feel the satisfaction of doing something themselves anymore, right? It's all fake. It's a fake world that they're being raised in, and it's not good.
A new mental health disorder in children. Take a look at these videos of children scrolling on their phones in their sleep. They're so dependent on their devices that they're showing addictive tendencies. Did you know that Steve Jobs, the inventor of the Apple products, said that you would never bring an iPad into his home? He banned his kids from using any Apple devices, calling them dangerous. The brain actually develops neurological pathways based on habits. The brain forms a map to give you skills that you need for physical and mental tasks. Children up to the age of 14 years old are developing at a really fast rate. So if you don't want your children to grow up using the word anxious, depressed, burnt out, make sure to start changing their habits while they are young.
Yeah, I mean, how was that those babies, right? Asleep, scrolling with their hands. I mean, children that young should not have access to these devices, in my humble opinion. Um, I'm lucky enough that my children are grown up, and I mean, cell phones, phones were in mobile phones when they were at home, but um, smartphones came in, I guess they would have been teenagers, eldest one, but they never had smartphones until they left home, basically, and bought their own. They had computers, but my boys are musicians, so they spent their computer time was learning music, right? Yeah, they played a few games, but not really. It was pretty much music. So, and we knew that. So it was a tool for them that helped them. And it really did. They're both amazing musicians now, right? Self-taught. And so this is how the internet and things can be helpful. But if it's just scrolling, if it's just going on the internet just to waste time or to, see how many likes you've got, then it's no longer a tool, right? It's a drug, right? And that's the problem, I guess, is people going on the internet, but with no purpose, not really knowing why they're on there, just wanting to scroll, wanting to, post and get famous on the internet and be an influencer and see how many people like your post, all this kind of stuff. It's not real. It's not real. It's a fake electronic world. And, we've really got to start asking ourselves, are we going to keep going down this path? Because with AI coming in, it's getting pretty dodgy out there. And we've got to ask ourselves, what benefit are we getting? Are we actually getting benefit from all these devices? Because when you look around at what it's doing to everyone, to adults, but especially children, mental health issues, people are now getting psychosis. That's called AI psychosis. And this is the next level, right? Because AI you get on a phone as well. And they're pushing these AI chatbots, right? Get an AI friend, right? So you can isolate yourself more. And we're going to have these people who aren't going to know how to socialize, right? They're not going to know how to talk to people. And this is not good. This is bad. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about all this? What is the solution? Do you have children or grandchildren? Are they on devices? Have you seen any change in them? Because like that guy said, it changes your neural pathways because we know that children learn, it's up to 90% of everything they'll ever know by the time they're 7. And we saw those children, they were under 7 and they were so used to having phones and tablets that they were using them in their sleep. So what effect is this going to have on these kids when they're adults? They've missed out on all this learning about what the world is, how to interact with people, how to read faces, right? How to know if someone's angry or happy. Like literally, they're losing these skills, losing the skills of conversation, um, you know, dexterity, right? And doing things, using their body, fine motor skills. It's all going out the door, and everything is becoming this digital world. And like I said, this is not good for us. It might be good for the people pushing it on us. They get more power, they dumb us down, they take more resources, as they control the economy more. And what do we get? Mental health issues, loneliness, dissatisfaction, and propaganda. I mean, that's about it, right? So here's a clip showing, just how bad it's getting out there for our younger generation. And they rely on us to teach them the proper way, right? To leave them a world that is going to be at least as good for them as it was for us growing up. And we may be failing. We may be failing them.
Have you ever seen a child react like this after a phone or tablet was taken away from them?
What? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
He's always in his own world. He really quiet for real.
Oh, not right now. Mama, will bring the iPad back later.
If this reminds you of a kid in your life right now, you definitely cannot skip this video. kids who were born at the same time as the iPad in 2010, kids who at 8 years old already had their first phone. And they're the only humans in the history of the world to have grown up with a gadget as a babysitter.
Mama, bring it back, okay?
I mean, some of these kids haven't even experienced what it's like to get dirty and play outside with neighbors. They literally cannot comprehend a life without social media. And sadly, their parents have chosen the easy way out, using the iPad to shut them up.
Yeah, electronic babysitters. And, some of those kids, I mean, that was horrific, right? But they act, when they take away their phones or iPads, they're acting like the same as if you took away their parents, right? Like they're getting attached to these things and seeing them as, something real, like a friend, something comforting, and we have to understand that there's more going on than just what's on the screen, right? Just the information. Like these phones are sending out signals, like different frequencies. We know that TV puts people into theta, right? Puts you into a dreamlike state. So you just sit there and absorb more. And the advertising goes straight to your subconscious, right? This is what it's doing. These phones are doing to children as well. It's changing their brain state. And that's, like we heard, it's changing their neural pathways, the way that their brains are wired. And they're getting to the point where they're extremely stressed if they don't have their phone or iPad there. And again, these were little kids, man. Like parents are just giving up, right? And letting the phones raise their children. And he said that, it's because they think it's easy, right? They're choosing the easy way out. Is it though? I mean, this is the thing, right? There's a saying that says, hard decisions, easy life. Easy decisions, hard life. So when you make these easy decisions of just shoving a phone or a tablet in front of your child to keep them amused because you can't be bothered dealing with them, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that when they're teenagers and adults, and it's not going to be pretty. But there is change happening, like, because phones were allowed in schools, like, and we've seen what's happened to the education system, right? And people are coming out of college, right, and they've got degrees, but they don't know anything. And the same, kids are graduating from high school and they don't know how to read or write. And it's because they're not paying attention. They're always distracted by their phone. So they're not in class. They're not taking any of this information in because they're always looking for the next dopamine hit, right, on their phone. So, it's good to see that some states now, this is in America, but it is happening all over the world, is schools are banning phones and tablets and things in the classroom, which, I mean, really, they should have never been allowed in the classroom, ever. But it's starting to happen. So, what are your thoughts on this? Is that the way that we sort this out, is we just take the phones off them? I think that's a good way forward myself. But, like I said, these things are useful if they're used as tools. So I don't think cell phones belong in schools at all. And children, if they're going to use them, and this is children of a certain age, I think, under 12, 13, I don't think kids should have access at all. And I don't even know about that age. Maybe it should be 14, 15, 16. I don't know. But once their brain has, stopped developing so much, but they are helpful. So, restricted time, is needed, right? Not just this, here's your phone, use it as much as you want, because we've seen what happens. Kids don't have any restraint. They don't understand that kind of stuff. They're just after the fun, right? The dopamine hit. So they're going to be addicted before you know it. Like I said, it is starting to move. Schools are starting to ban cell phones.
No cell phones in school is becoming the new norm. 23 states have passed or are pushing for legislation to ban cell phones in schools. States like Oregon, Georgia, Delaware, Alabama, Illinois, Ohio, West Virginia, and Oklahoma are leading the way. But the trend isn't just national, it's going global. France is implementing a digital pause, a cell phone ban in middle schools starting in September 2025, while Australia is considering banning anyone under 16 from using social media. These bans are largely driven by a desire to reduce distractions in educational settings. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, who recently signed a this cell phone ban into law stated,
"Phone notifications make it nearly impossible for students to focus and to learn."
However, not everyone is on board. Some parents have raised concerns that banning phones in schools could hinder safety and communication during emergencies, such as school shootings. A high school in Arlington, Virginia shared its experience after implementing a cell phone ban. In addition to teachers noticing more attentive students, one student shared,
"People actually talk to each other now. It's very adorable. They're hanging out like something out of a movie."
This school uses Yonder pouches to enforce the policy. Students place their phones in these lockable pouches when they enter the school. While they keep possession of their phones, the pouches can only be unlocked at designated stations outside the phone-free zones. Different states, however, are using a variety of approaches to roll out and enforce similar bans. What do you think about banning cell phones in schools?
Yes, let me know in the comments. What do you think about banning phones in schools? I definitely agree with that. How does that go? People actually talk to each other. It's like in the movies. I mean, that just shows us how disconnected, and she was a teenager, how disconnected our children are from reality, from each other, right? From each other, that's the main thing. They're disconnected from socializing, from real experiences, right? It's all digital. And so it was almost a novelty that people were talking to each other, right? Crazy. How did we get here? It's insane. And so, yeah, I think that phones should be locked away. If children bring them to school, they should be locked up and you get them when you leave. But I mean, most parents, I think, it's the parents, right? Like, again, we are the one that are raising our children. We are supposed to know a lot more than them. We're supposed to be looking out for them. So no child, in my opinion, should be even turning up to school with a phone, but they should be definitely taken off them if they do. And they did show those bags that they put them in. Now, I think that's a bad idea, right? They could put it in a bag and lock it and then let the kids have the phone. So for one, they're still getting all the radiation, right? And all the frequencies coming out of it. But I did see a video and they trialed that in a school and the kids were going crazy because they had their phones, but they couldn't get them. And they were just trying to break into these little pouches. And many of them were actually ended up destroying their phones in the process. So it's an addiction. It's someone who's addicted to something. If someone's addicted to crack, you don't put a bag of crack in their pocket in a locked bag, do you? Like, you can imagine what would happen. This is the same thing. This is addiction, and we need to sort this out. As the parents, as the older generation, we've let this problem arise, and we need to now sort it out. Because our children don't have the skills anymore. Well, younger children who've grown up with this for their whole life, they don't have the skills to say no. They don't have the skills to recognize that it's not good for them. That's our job. So what do you reckon, guys? Cell phone addiction. I would love to hear your comments on this. Please leave them. If you're a parent or a grandparent, what's your experience has been? And what do you think? Like, should children have these devices at all? We also heard in that last video that Australia, my country, they're now trying to introduce these bans on certain social media sites, right? Unless you're 18, and you see this is a problem because I think everyone watching this video probably understands that is going to turn into QR codes and a monitoring system, right? This is the slippery slope. So they're again, right? They're saying, look, we're helping you. This is all for you. We're trying to help your children, but it's not. For one, the reason it's not is they're not banning the internet. They're banning sites like Facebook and Instagram. Now you go talk to a teenager and ask them if they use Facebook, and they will tell you that's only for old people. No kids go on Facebook anymore. It's antiquated, right? It's not cool. So what's the use in banning it for them? Because when they're just banning sites, these kids can still get onto the internet. And as we all know, right, porn is free and it's everywhere. Like, you just got to get onto a phone, type in porn, and you can get as much as you want for free. So the kids can still access that. Right, they can still access other sites, and most of their conversations these days are within games, like Roblox and Minecraft and all this. They go there and they have their chats. So this ban that they say they're doing for us and it'll be good for our children, it's not. It's a scam. It's just to bring in social credit scores, right? And to keep us monitored. It's part of the New World Order. We all know, right? So what do we do here? I think the way I look at it is, these devices just shouldn't be allowed for children. Like I think under 18 or something, you probably shouldn't have them, which means, we need to show the way. We need to be the example. We need to get off our phones and off social media so much. It's a handy, right? Facebook is handy if you want to get in contact with someone, with one of your friends. You don't have their phone number, you can find them, right? Or if you want to find someone you used to go to school with or someone you haven't been in contact with, yeah, great. Facebook's good for that. But if you're just going on to scroll and post random things and share posts, what's the point? What are you actually achieving? And this is what we've got to ask ourselves, because what we're doing is we're showing the younger generation that this is acceptable and that this is what adults do. So it really comes down to us. We've got to be the change we want to see. So I would love to hear your opinions, guys. Please leave me a comment, because because phone addiction is real, and the consequences of it are not nice, and we haven't even seen really what they are. We haven't seen this generation what they're going to be like as adults. We've seen the millennials and Gen Z and all this come through, and there's a lot of videos online saying that they're lazy and they're crazy and all this. And it's like that guy said, a lot of these kids have never had their hands dirty. They've never dug a hole. They've never fallen off their bike and, skinned their knees and grazed themselves and got bumps and bruises and built cubby houses. Like, they haven't done this, so they don't know how to interact with the world like that. And so, a lot of the older generations sit back and call them lazy, but that's all they know, right? That's how they've been raised, to sit down and look at a screen. So, if we want to point the finger at these younger generations, I think we need to be standing in front of a mirror, right? Because this would have never happened if we didn't all, accept it and start using these devices and then giving them to our children. And we're not far into this, right? 20 years maybe. Where's it going to be in 50 years if we do not make a stand now? So let me know your comments. And please give me a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Share this video around if you know people who are giving devices to their children. It might be helpful. And of course, stay awesome. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.